A lot of people think the beauty industry is going to be easy, filing nails, painting nails, having a chit chat, and actually of work involved in the background, and a lot of people can't cut it.
Meet Elizabeth Richards, skincare specialist, entrepreneur, and founder of That's Healthy Skin Girl. Liz transformed her own struggles with skin and self-confidence into a mission to helping others. What once affected her mental health became the key to her passion and her purpose.
I don't like what I see in the mirror. When I did start to heal my skin, the level of confidence that's given me, it's opened up so many doors.
Since launching That Healthy Skin Girl, Liz has empowered women across the UK to achieve healthier skin, build their confidence, and experience real lasting change.
Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of how far we've come. We've all got so much that we've achieved, but I think we forget to reflect on that.
In this episode, Liz opens up about her journey from personal challenges to professional success, and she shares her powerful insights on creating a beauty business that supports your life, not one that drains it.
You are your business. Don't ever be comparing their page 365 to your page 5. We can feel alone, we can feel overwhelmed.
If you're ready to turn your passion into a purpose-driven business, then this conversation is packed with the inspiration and advice that you need to get started.
What are your top tips for getting clients?
I would say the main 3 areas that I get clients from are...
Liz, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited to have you
Me
today.
too.
I have really been interested in watching your social media, and one thing that I really noticed about you was your knowledge and your experience in the industry. So you've been in this industry for 24 years now.
Yep.
You look about 32, so I'm not quite sure what your parents did to get you started so young, but I really want to know about how your journey started and then how we've developed into your business as it is today. But let's start in the early days. How did you get here?
So when I was a little girl, I was always that kind of little girl that was always playing with my hair and my doll's hair and like wanted to have pretty dresses and look nice. And I remember having that from like a very, very young age. I was always quite a quiet child as well and quite innocent and always like not one to put my hand up and put myself forward. And I think because of that, in my early and younger years and probably into my early teens, was bullied a little bit. And I think a lot of people have experienced that. But because of that, I think I then knew that I wanted to be able to go into an industry or be able to give back and help people feel good about themselves, you know, and help them build that confidence and feel beautiful and pretty and you know, and liked. So I didn't really know where that would lead. And when we were sort of coming up to GCSEs and choices of where you want to go for the rest of your life, it was actually like ridiculously too young to be thinking of that.
I know, it's
at
crazy,
that age sometimes.
isn't it? My daughter's just in this at the moment. It's wild. But.
Yeah. So my careers advisor sort of sat me down and asked me like, what do I enjoy doing? And when I explained it, she said, well, why don't you go along and take a look? And at the time, both my mum and dad were working at the local college where I'd gone to have a look at the course. And I remember them saying to me, are you sure you want to be a beauty therapist? Because, you know, there's not really at that time, the industry was still a little bit unknown. And I think they kind of wanted me to choose maybe more of an academic route. But I knew quite early on as well that I'm a very practical person and I'm more of a hands-on kind of person and I love that contact with people. So I went to college straight away from school, did 2 years, and whilst I was at college was already working within a salon environment and I just loved it and I knew straight away that I'd made the right decision.
Wow.
So I was lucky in the early stages to work for some really good salons in Huddersfield. I went to do a lot of training with different brands, so I very quickly built up a lot of knowledge and skills. And because of the prestige of some of the salons that I was working with and the clients and the retail side of it, I felt I'd got to this level in my industry where I then wanted to be able to pass that knowledge and skill on to other people. So after about 5-6 years, I decided to go back to college and I did a teaching degree. So I actually then went back to the college that I learnt at, which was, getting on for 7 years now, and started doing my teaching. But one of the things that I found from it was, and I remember this when I went myself, a lot of people think the beauty industry is going to be easy. They think they're going to be, you know, filing nails, painting nails, having a chit chat and a lovely time. And actually, there is a lot of science and a lot of work involved in the background and a lot of people can't cut it. So I was standing up in front of a class feeling passionate, wanting to share this, and actually they weren't giving me much back. And also on the flip side of that, you know, like I said, 7 years later, I was going back to a college where they were still teaching the same things with the same equipment. And I was like, I've been in the industry for 7 years now. Things have moved on and these girls are not going to be industry ready. And I wanted to be able to give them the best possible start into that industry. And I just felt that that wasn't what I was able to do there. So then I ended up meeting my husband and I relocated to Leicester. And at that time, I found a part-time job in a salon just to find my feet. So still doing beauty therapy, and saw a job advertised with a brand called Cuccio. I don't know if you've never heard of them. So they're a professional nail care brand.
Oh, Cucio.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody always thinks it's Gucci or a take on that, but
like
it's
that,
not. No. So I ended up seeing a self-employed educator role, went up to Nottingham, had an interview with them, started working for them, and stayed there for 12 years. Wow. So I actually ended up travelling a lot around initially, doing nail education courses, and I could be in Plymouth one day, in Edinburgh the other, in Northern Ireland, and I was just absolutely loving it because I was still quite young, no real responsibilities. Yes, got a partner and a home, but it was brilliant. I was learning so much along the way, and I was actually standing up in front of people that really were, wanted to be there. They'd paid for this education and they were sort of hanging off my every word, and I knew that what I was giving to them, they were taking on board, and it was, helping them to have a good start in the industry. And then very quickly after that, the company wanted to set up a direct sales team. So go to work alongside and do business development with salons, spas, and also wholesale. And because I was quite located in a good area to Nottingham, they asked me if I wanted to take on the role. And I was like, well, the only sales I've ever done is retail in salon, but I'll give it a go. And over the 12 years, I built up a team of salespeople. I then took on the education side of things, and there was around a team of 30 of us that I looked after. And in the end up, that sort of then fed into Europe and America and South America. So I was traveling around and, living my best life. But in the background, 3 years prior, I'd had my daughter. Okay. And I think anybody that knows when something like that happens, you start to think differently and your priorities change. And I also had really sort of started to struggle with my health a few years before she was born. I was really poorly. I had IBS, bloating. My skin was just really inflamed. I just constantly looked bloated. I was exhausted because I couldn't sleep. My mental health was bad. And through lots of different tests and going back to the doctors and thinking, what is this? They found out that I'd got a bowel polyp. I ended up going in and having that removed. Little did I know that when I did go in to have that operation, I was actually 7 weeks pregnant. So I then had the coming out of that side of it and then sort of going straight into motherhood. My hormones, my body were just all over the place. And I thought maybe that was going to be the solution. Thankfully, it was benign. They removed it. I could move on. But then as she was very young and I was trying to think about, what do I want to do and how do I get myself back to where I need to be? I wasn't feeling better within myself. It didn't matter what I tried. I just still had all of these symptoms. And in the back of my mind, I was just getting up, going to work like you do, in that routine, but knowing that I wasn't happy. And it really just got to the point where I was almost surviving life. And I thought, one day I woke up and I thought, there has to be more to life than this, because this is not how you should be feeling when you get up every day.
Yeah, I relate to that.
Yeah. So COVID happened. Sorry to mention the C word. I know we think it's long gone, but COVID happened. And unfortunately, due to the nature of my work, as you can imagine, that all stopped.
Yeah.
So I was put on furlough leave. And because of the relationship that I had with the owners, they did really look after me and they created a role for me to go back to. But we'd moved house a couple of years previous, and I remember walking past the garage room that we were converting into a spare room for when my parents came to stay. And I just remember stopping on a Friday night, at the end of the working week with a glass of wine, thinking that would make such a good salon. And I'd started to sort of plant the seed of ideas with everyone around me that's what my intention was. Because also I think the role that I went back to in that job, it wasn't fulfilling my skills and it wasn't fulfilling what I know my purpose is.
And you'd done it for so long at this point as well, hadn't you? So it wasn't that fresh, inspiring, motivating thing anymore.
No,
it was
definitely not.
Got a bit like Groundhog Day, I suppose.
It did. And also I felt like, the company deserved somebody that wanted to show up and put 100% into that role. And I just felt at that time it wasn't me. Yeah. So over the 12 months that I was on furlough and looking at these other roles, and like I say, on a Friday night, standing and looking at, what I thought could be a great salon. My daughter was also approaching the age where she was going to be going to school, and I'd always dreamt when I was thinking about being a mum, like my mum did for me, of being the one that took her to school in the morning and was there when she came out of the gates at the end of the day, and just that level of constant for her when she was so young and starting something so different, for herself. So I started to convert the salon. And when I first started it, it was all beauty. because that's all I'd ever known, like to just constantly just be doing all the different things. But obviously in the background, I was still struggling with my health and feeling absolutely crap. And I thought, I can't build a business feeling and looking this way.
Yeah.
So then one day we were like, you started to be able to travel again, and we decided to go on holiday. And I was on a beach in Crete, got speaking to a couple that were living out there. They got kids similar age to Ella, my daughter. And we just hit it off straight away. And she started asking me, bits about what I do. And I was explaining to her, as you do, after a few drinks, what's going on with your health and your life and everything else. And she just said to me, have you thought about looking at your gut health? Have you thought about taking a bit more of a holistic approach? And I was like, well, no, not really. I mean, it was quite a bit of a buzzword back then. I think around 2020, it's something that started to, come through. But again, where do you start with something like that? And she almost like handed me a blueprint of a gut health reset. And when I came back home, we started talking some more. And I decided to go ahead with this program that she was offering. And I did a gut health reset. And within 30 days, I cannot tell you the difference. I had struggled for probably 8 years where I'd go out to a restaurant, I'd look on a menu and I'd think, oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble in an hour. Like I'm going to be blurred, I'm going to be running back and forth from the toilet, just not a very nice situation to be in. Or I would be, going to bed on a night and knowing that I wasn't going to get any sleep and just feeling like absolute crap. And that had gone on for like 7 years and, low mental health, exhaustion. Within 30 days, it was all gone.
Wow.
Like literally all gone. And it just was like, how was this just that simple answer that I'd been looking for such a long time? My skin still didn't look great. It was slightly improved, but it still didn't look great. I'd still got that level of inflammation. And I just remember thinking, God, I can't believe how quickly I've managed to turn things around in 30 days and how powerful this is. And the level of education that came with the program as well, it was just something that I was so interested in. That's definitely what I am. Like if I have a passion, I just go above and beyond and I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. And I spend every waking hour then thinking, well, how can I improve on that? How can I learn more to then further serve others? And I just remember thinking, I was a busy working mum in a situation that, like I said, just felt like I was surviving. And now I feel like I found the answer and I could feel like I was getting back to my old self. And I thought to myself, I don't want to just have a beauty business. This is going to be a big part of it because I don't want to just be able to offer treatments. I want to be able to hand this to others. I want them to, not be waking up in the morning feeling like they're only surviving life and going through all of these things and not knowing where to start. So the gut health side of it and the holistic side of it was where it sort of went into. And then as I'd started to see that my skin improved, I realised that actually that's really important because when you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror, that's the first thing that you see. And if you're not feeling confident in your skin, it affects your life in so many different ways. And I think there'll be so many people out there who've never struggled with their skin, so they won't understand that. But there'll be people that have and will completely understand that. And it had got to the point where it was affecting my life. I mean, I wouldn't even go to the corner shop for a pint of milk without putting my makeup on. I'd be on holiday with my daughter and I wouldn't jump in the pool because I'd have some makeup on. It was affecting different experiences. And also it affects your confidence as well. When I was going and doing these presentations with work and things like that, I didn't necessarily have the level of confidence that perhaps I outwardly gave because inside I was thinking, gosh, I'm not confident in my skin. I don't like what I see in the mirror. So when I then started to realise like the level of what that could give me, and when I did start to heal my skin, the level of confidence that's given me, it's opened up so many doors because I feel like I'm now back out there and I've got the confidence to put myself back out there. But I've also got the confidence to be, a better person, a better mum, a better business owner. I've got so much more to give because I'm in the right confidence and energy now. So that's where then my passion for skincare really started.
And now your current business setup is mainly skincare,
Mainly
isn't
skincare,
it?
yeah. So when I first started, it was all beauty. And I've eventually, over the last 4 years, niched it down. I still do some other treatments because they're long-time clients. They're people that I actually enjoy seeing. And, they might have their nails done, but they're also a skincare client. Or they might have their brows laminated, but they're also a skincare client. But from a point of view now outwardly and what I'm promoting, it is all about skincare, and where I'm wanting to take the business forward now is all about skincare.
And do you find that you attract people who were once where you were, who are where you were once?
Yeah, definitely.
And you can help them on their journey, almost like what happened to you was meant to happen to you, because now you're helping them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I actually believe that is everything happens to you for a reason. And I think if you can find the reason in why it's happened, because I'm now, I've got the business that I once dreamt of. And if I hadn't have had that journey and I haven't have learnt what I learnt along the way, I wouldn't have been able to build the business to where it is now. So 100%.
I love that. What kind of challenges and setbacks have you faced along the way, on the way to going to predominantly skincare and helping people?
Yeah.
It's not an easy journey, is it?
No, definitely not. So I think one of the biggest challenges is I've always been part of a team and worked along other people, and this was just... And that's quite daunting.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got friends and family and loved ones and people that I can bounce ideas with. But at the end of the day, when it's your business and your brand and you work by yourself, it all falls to yourself. So I think that was a challenge, because I think initially I didn't necessarily have that confidence to niche down. And so I think I spent time thinking, well, what treatments can I offer that are going to bring in the most clients? I probably spread myself a little bit too thinly. And that's with my energy, with my time, with my finances, with my investment, with the coaching, with all of the different things that I did along the way. And I would think that if I'd had that level of confidence to niche down a little bit sooner and being like, skincare, that's where you want to take it, do it now, perhaps I would be a little bit further along the way. But I do think when you're on your own, you are more in your head and overthinking these things.
In hindsight then, what would you have done differently to make that decision sooner? Or what would you have needed to have believed? Because someone might be listening to this thinking, I'm putting this thing off.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you have needed to believe or know then?
I think you just need to think inwardly. And when we look to the future, we think worst case scenario always, don't we? We think, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this because of X.
Yeah.
But actually, when I now look back, I'm able to say, I wish that I had done this sooner. And I think you've just got to if that's really what you want to do, you've just got to trust your own instincts. And if it fails later down the line, then you can go and introduce other things. If you want to just go to skincare, but it doesn't take off, you can reintroduce things. You can make changes at any time you want. Your business is your control. But I think, just probably that level of confidence, maybe working more on my mindset and my personal development, because that's not something that I've done until really the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference. It really does.
I also think as well, perhaps some of the things that I introduce a little bit later that I wish I'd done sooner is the likes of yourself and all of the amazing coaches and people that have been before us out there, and working with people that are like-minded so that they can give you that push to be like, if this is really what you want to do, then just go out and do it.
Yeah. I heard a saying, and it was something on the lines of, by not making a decision to change, you are making a decision that everything will remain the same.
Exactly.
And I think having someone like a coach or someone who gets it, because your family and your friends and whatever don't get it, do they?
No.
But by having that coach or investing in the books or the podcast or whatever, you get that kick up the arse that sometimes just goes, I've got to do this.
Yeah, definitely. Well, your family and your friends and your loved ones, they love you.
Yes.
And building a business is hard.
Yep.
And I actually am quite a very strong person, but I don't think I've cried as much about something as much as building this business. And if your family and friends and loved ones see you like that and you're struggling to make decisions and you're not really knowing where to move forward, and perhaps, they're thinking, you're going to quit, do you not know how to move this forward? They're going to want to try and take you out of that experience and that feeling. Yeah. Whereas when you put yourself with like-minded people who have been there before and are doing it with you, you have such better conversations, and those are the people that family and friends and loved ones, they're there to support you, but in a totally different way.
Yeah.
It's the like-minded people that are in the industry that have been before that are there to help you and guide you.
Because your family and friends might see upset and go, just get a job, it's going to be... And they only say it through love, whereas people like me are going to go, right, let's get your shit together, because
definitely.
You're not... the way that you're approaching this isn't working for you. It's not that this isn't possible or you can't do it, because you can, but your current strategy is just not working.
Yeah, definitely.
And as much as they love you and they want to protect you, actually they can do you a huge disservice by convincing you.
Yeah, definitely.
And because sometimes in that situation, you might be a bit weak-minded or a bit emotionally vulnerable, it's quite easy to go, do you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
When you've got passion, you keep going anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
What advice would you give to somebody who might be feeling like kind of low and deflated or overwhelmed right now? Because you said you've experienced that.
100%. And I think that comes in waves and it never gets any better. And I think every time you overcome something, you grow into a different person, then you have a different level of overwhelm.
Yeah, there's no devil on every level.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, do you really want to be doing this? Okay, because if you're feeling tired and you're overwhelmed and you're feeling quite low, is that because you've set up this business, you've said to everybody, this is what I'm wanting to do, and actually it's not really what you want, and you're afraid of giving up and you're afraid of that failure because of what people might think of you. So I think that's the first thing that you've got to think of. Is it really what you want to be doing? And if it is, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Because my why has been crystal clear since day one when I started to transform the way that my skin was, my health was. I wanted to be able to pass that on to others. But I also have got a child, and that she's been my why, because I wanted to be able to have a job that fits in and means that I get to spend time with her, and that she's not, necessarily having to go to breakfast clubs in the morning and after school clubs and whatever else it may be. So from that, I've created a vision board from that, and I plug into that every single day. So I think, your why needs to be really strong of why you're doing this business. I think second of all is what's going on in the background. You are your business, and how well are you looking after yourself? Because I think we can feel low and we can feel overwhelmed, but if we're not prioritising rest, if we're locked inside all day long, scrolling on our phones, comparing, and we're never getting out and getting any fresh air, moving our bodies, how well are you eating? All of those different things. Yeah. That is so important.
Huge,
because
isn't it?
That's affecting your mental health. So how well are you looking? It really is. Like, how well are you looking after yourself? Who are you comparing yourself to as well? That's another thing, because I think that's something that's coming. When I've felt really low and overwhelmed, it's probably because I'm spending far too much time comparing my journey to others. And there is, that quote, isn't there, that like your page, you're on a different page. Your journey is going to be different. So don't ever be comparing their page 365 to your page 5. It's a totally different thing. And it's great to use social media and to aspire to that, but never use that as comparison, because I feel that can really drag you down and feeling quite low. And then also is just look for help, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether that's help from a family member to, give you some time off with the kids so that you can, have some time off. Whether that's help from your partner so that you can work a little bit later in the salon, so that you can actually have some time away from working with clients to think about, how can I get out of this feeling and how can I move it forward? Or whether that's help from a coach, whether it be a personal development coach, mindset, business coach, whatever that may be, but is to not be afraid to ask for help. But I think personal development is so, so important, and you just need to remember that it is, when it's great to recognise that you're feeling low, but to come up with a structure of how you're going to get out of it and commit to it and stick to it, really.
I absolutely agree. I think personal development is very overlooked by business owners, but it's down to my personal development why I've managed to create so much success in business. Because like you said, if you're not going out and getting fresh air or going for a little walk or, just really honouring your well-being, you're neglecting yourself, and eventually that shows up. And if you're neglecting yourself through lack of eating nice foods, and that doesn't mean to say like you can't eat crisp chocolate cake, whatever, but it's about that balance of, am I honouring myself? It's not about how do I look in the mirror, it's how do I feel inside. And the better you feel inside, the better you perform. The better you feel inside, the better your brain thinks. Like, a positive mindset has been scientifically proven to directly link with the things that we do with our bodies, whether that's putting stuff in or moving them. And positive mindsets are pretty crucial in business, because we all know what it feels like to have a negative mindset. We've all been there. We'll all still go there, but it's what's ruling the roost, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And I know whenever I have gone through those periods of feeling low, overwhelm, exhaustion, it takes me 5 minutes to sit down and look in the background and be like, well, because I'm not looking after myself, and that's why. But I think also, when it comes to feeling like that as well, it's about like reflecting I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves of how far we've come. Because when I do feel like that, and I maybe just take a few mornings out of that week where I'll spend 10 minutes and I'm just looking back through my social media to the first live I did, the first story I shared, the first client. You know, we've all got so much that we've achieved, but I think we forget to reflect on that. And I think that's really important as well, because yes, you're feeling low and overwhelmed right now, but look at how far you've come. You'll get over this and you'll be reflecting again in another 6 months, 12 months on how you were feeling and how you managed to get yourself out of that.
I love that. That's great advice. Thank you. Let's talk about clients, because you've built a really great, like, engaged community when it comes to skincare. You've got your own kind of place. You've got your clients. How do you attract clients? Like, what are your top tips for getting clients?
So I would say the main 3 areas that I get clients from are social media.
Yeah.
Using social media and in a way where I'm connecting with other business owners or people in the local area, getting out into the local area. So what other businesses are there? Do I go to the gym, tag myself? Do I go to a coffee shop? Can I support other local businesses so that they're... And then number 3 would be client recommendations. I would say that 50% of my clients have come through from a recommendation of someone else. So with social media, it took me a while, but now I would say for the last 2 years, I've got absolutely crystal clear on who my target client is, what their struggles are, what language they speak, who I am, what my methods are, and what I'm trying to teach and educate, and how I'm trying to help my clients. So I've really nailed that. And I think that's so important, because when you are putting your social media strategies together, you need to know what your message is, but who you are speaking to and who it's for and how are they going to receive that, and repetition. I used to think, well, I shared that message 2 weeks ago, but people, their attention spans now, I mean, gosh, you know, you could be scrolling on your phone and what's going on in the background? I mean, we have such low attention spans that I'll say to a friend, did you not see that I shared the other week? Well, no, I didn't actually, but they might have seen it at a different time. So it's repeating yourself is actually a good thing as well.
I agree.
Because not everybody sees it the first time, but also you then become known for that message, and you then become known for that type of language and that way of speaking and what you're trying to share. And then number 2, with regards to connecting with other business owners, is there anybody locally to me? So I've, over the course that I've been doing this, gone out to local PTs or perhaps makeup artists or whatever it may be. And I've said to them, look, I've been following you for a while. I know you follow me back. We're obviously liking along each other's stories. I'd love to invite you in for a complimentary treatment if you do this for me. Yeah. And from that, they've then shared my business, and I've then gained likes, follows, shares, whatever it may be. And clients have come from that. And it's exactly the same when you go into somebody else's business and you tag them on the stories and then they share it. Again, I've gained followers and what have you from that. And then that's turned into clients. And then with my clients and looking for recommendations, I give 100%. Doesn't matter what is going on at home, in my head, in my life. When I shut that door and I get to work in the morning, my clients are paying me for my time. Yes, they're paying for a service, but they're paying me for my time. So I need to make sure that what I offer it goes above and beyond everything, because I want them to recommend me. I want them to be like, you know, oh, such and such is struggling with their skin at work, or they're looking for a relaxing massage.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have a really good recommend a friend scheme and a loyalty program as well, just to make sure that I'm looking after them and encouraging them to do that.
Will you tell us about those? Because I know people would love to learn about that.
Yeah. So with my loyalty schemes, this has changed, and it will always change.
Always change and evolve.
Obviously, when I first started, I had treatments that were of a very low value up to things that were higher. So I kind of went middle ground, whereas now I'm at a bit more of a more higher end treatments as well. So every time they come in for a treatment of £50 or more within one transaction, I give them a little stamp. And then when they get to 10, they have £50 on me to be able to spend on a specific treatment. And because I'm wanting to focus on skincare, I now only offer that on a specific facial. And it's the facial that I want them to try. You know, the top end, lovely facial that I know they'll fall in love with and that they'll want to come back for more. So that's that. And then with my recommend a friend, it is that they will receive 10% on their next treatment for recommending that friend, and their friend receives 20% on their treatment.
For their first one.
For their first one. But it has to be over a certain value. Yeah. So again, with specific facials and massages that I offer.
And do you find that these kind of methods get you new clients and they get you what you want?
Yeah, definitely. I would say in the last week, I've probably had 3 clients recommended that have contacted me and said, I know that my friend comes to you, or I've seen you on such and such a social media, and I asked them and they come, to you for a treatment and you offer this. Am I okay to book with the discount? And can I let them know that they'll also receive theirs? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So 3 new clients coming through because of it. So yeah, really good.
I see people say sometimes, I tried to recommend a friend, it didn't work. I'm like, you didn't talk about that enough, did you? Because they do work, but if you only mention it to 1 or 2 clients. So do you make a point when you're doing your clients and you're doing their treatments of really educating them on your referral 100%. Program?
So when a client first comes to me, part of their consultation is explaining exactly how I work and what I offer, and I remind them of that as well when they leave. So they know exactly what they're going to get from their loyalty from me. And it's something that I remind people of with the odd social media post every now and again. People love to know what extras they're going to get, whether it be on my stories or on my grid posts. And I also regularly send out an email. So whenever there's a business update, I'll always add it as a footer. And do not forget, these are the things that I offer as well. So yeah, you can't put something in place, talk about it to a few clients, think about it for a few weeks. It's all about repetition and keeping going with it. Because again, clients forget, they've just had a nice facial. They're thinking about going home to bed. Never mind recommending somebody for 20%, They do forget. So you have to remind them.
I love that. You have also built an engaged skincare community, haven't you? So tell me more about how you've done this and why you felt that this was important to your business.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's really important for your community to be engaged because, again, like what I was saying earlier, when that friend at work or that bride that's getting married or whoever it may be wants to improve their skin or is struggling with their skin or needs to come along and have a massage and a de-stress, I want my name to be at the front of their thoughts and for them to recommend me to them. So that's why it's important but also I think it's important because I want them to feel like they are part of my journey because they are my clients and they are my community. And if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be a business. So including them and having them feel like they are involved is me giving back to say, you are part of my journey, you are part of my business, and here it is. So from day one, when I first started this business, I looked in the mirror and I thought, I want to be a skincare specialist. Look at my skin. I feel like crap. I don't like what I see in the mirror. So I can either hide away, fix it by myself, and then start a business down the line, or I can go now, raw, real, from the beginning, and share my journey to inspire others. And I'm really proud of myself and also very glad that I did that because I think that has helped people see that I am relatable.
Yeah, real.
And I'm real. And I've always shared what's going on behind the scenes with me. Like today, for example. Of course, I'm coming here. So what happens on, what day are we on now? It's been bank holiday.
I know.
Saturday night. A great big spot, things like that. But I share my struggles with my skin because your skin's never always going to be perfect. Your health's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to feel great. It's about sharing your journey and all the ups and downs in and amongst. And that hasn't stopped just because I've got to a certain point. I don't stop sharing that. So they feel involved.
Do you have like a private community then set up, is it?
No, but something
like with
that
your
I'm
social media kind of, you're always putting because you're very transparent on your social media, like you're saying now, and putting the behind the scenes, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that's really relatable. Do you think that's helped you to maintain your client base as well?
Definitely, because I feel like they know me. I mean,
do they talk about your content when they come in? They're like, I seen that you was doing so and so.
Yeah, definitely. Or again, within the last couple of weeks, I've had 2 ladies get to the door. I've opened the door and they're like, oh my God, it's so nice to finally meet you. Like I genuinely feel like I already know you. And I was telling the girls at work this afternoon, I'm going to see Liz for, I can't remember what it was that she's coming in for, a facial or a massage it was. But I feel like I already know her before I get there. And that's what I really like. Because I think sometimes going for a treatment or investing your money or your time and your energy in somebody and trusting them with, your treatment or your skin or whatever it may be is can be quite daunting. And have I made the right decision? So I want them to feel like they know me and that they're going to be comfortable from the minute that they step in. And I think that the only way that you can do that is by putting yourself out there first and being real. So I think that's, really, really important.
When it comes to content, do you think people overthink it? And what are your strategies for staying consistent and showing up? Because you're a mom, you've got your business, you're busy.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say, I don't have time to post on my stories. I don't have time to post on my grid. Help me with that.
I would say that social media is the one thing that has exhausted me the most over my journey. And I definitely, in the early days, approached it in the totally wrong way. I obsessed over it.
Overanalyzed it.
Yeah, overanalyzed it and obsessed over it. And I got to a point where I thought, right, I either sit scrolling on my phone with my head in my hands thinking, how am I going to build this? Or I'll look for help. And that's what I started to do. So that's when I then started to really study what other people were doing, really niche down. And then I invested in coaches and people that can help me. And like I said, for the last 2 years now, I know what I want to get out there. I know what my message is and who I'm speaking to. So yes, you do have time. You do have time because it doesn't have to be what you think it is. And I know that because I was there and I've managed to turn it around. So now every Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, I spend half an hour thinking about what do I want to achieve in the next week? Is there any special days coming up? Have I introduced a new treatment? Anything exciting happening like coming here today? What's going on in my personal life this week? What is my outcome? What's my goal for the business this week? And then I look at how can I spread that across the content that I'm sharing. And I sit down and I write down every day and I write down whether I want to share that on a grid post, on a reel. So I'm always making sure that I've got a variation of different types of content. But then I'm also thinking about, but what does that gain to my clients? Because it's all very well me telling them I'm coming here.
Yeah.
It's all very well me sharing an offer that I've got. It's all very well me telling them about the vitamin A skincare that I love. But how's that going to benefit them?
I love that you think like that.
So whenever I think about my content, again, I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm sharing this, but how am I going to share that is going to benefit and serve them? So I spend half an hour doing that on a Sunday night or a Monday morning. I've got my content planned for the week. And then I also don't work Mondays in the salon. So that's my business working day. I make sure that I have everything filmed or that I know I've got some B-roll content or other pictures on my phone saved in a folder that I can share. So that I know then when I get up in the morning, I get back from the gym and I spend half an hour and I do my posts and I do my stories. And then I maybe start with clients at around 10 o'clock in the morning. So for 15 minutes before I start, if I haven't managed to do it, I'll do it then. But I make sure that I get it done in the morning as well. So I'm organised at the beginning of the week. It's all ready to go. If you don't do it in the morning, there's a chance that your day can go to shit. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, do you know what? I just want to go home and go to bed and I'm not going to do it. So it's all about being organised. But also, you're a mum. If you've got children in the background that are obviously taking a priority and you're thinking you're busy, and it's entirely up to you. Not everybody wants their children to be on social media, but my daughter has been a big part of my business from the very beginning. I've always told her why I'm doing it. I've always told her what I'm doing it. I'll share my day, how it's gone. She knows my clients. She's even been in reels, and now she's starting to do these little get ready with me videos. And will be there making drinks with me in the background. And so she's been a big part of it. So if you feel comfortable doing that, well, use the time that you spend with them to create some content and get some bits and pieces out there. They'll love being part of it and they'll love to see, wow, look at what my mum's doing. So that's another thing that I've used.
I suppose really it's the organisation, it's the taking action, and it's the not fucking procrastinating on it.
Definitely.
Because if you do that, that's when obviously your day can go to crap, and then
definitely. Also,
you're just like, what the hell?
Absolutely. And when you first get up in the morning, I don't know what your morning routine's like, but my morning routine now is like absolutely nailed in. I do my gym session and I do my personal development. So when I then go and pick up that phone to put out my content,
you're already
my
good.
Head and my energy, it's all good. So what I put out there is better. I can see when I go through my grid or I look back on stories, if I've done them later on in the day when I've thought, oh, I've got to do this now.
The energy
is
so
different.
Yeah.
And I feel like it can be received differently then as well. And you've not necessarily got your message across as well as you would do.
Yeah.
And then also, if you put it out in the morning, you've got the rest of the day then to deal with people that message you or comment on, so that you've got that level of engagement as well. And it's not something that you're just missing out and you're not, appreciating the fact that people are showing up and wanting to like your or comment on your content.
And I think as well, the longer that you leave it, the more you start to procrastinate over it. So if it gets to like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you think, oh, I've not done a story yet. And then you're like, oh, and you just either post anything which gets little to no engagement or you just think, oh, I'll leave it. And then before you know it, it could be 3-4 days.
Yeah, definitely.
And you just built this like, energy around it. But I think what you just said there is very important. Your morning routine aligns your energy, gets your head in the right space, then you go do that thing.
Yeah.
And that's really important. How long have you had a morning routine?
I would say now for the last, becoming up to 3 years nearly now. So every day I either go to the gym, or on my days off, I'll just go there and do some stretching, or I'll go for a walk. But I move my body every single day in some way, shape or form. And then I come back home from the gym and I do a little bit of gratitude journaling, or I might have done that before I go, depending. I have some affirmations, I've got my vision board, and then when I'm getting ready to sort of go for the rest of the day, I'll have a podcast or something going on in the background. But just for that first half an hour of the day, when I get back and do that personal development, it's just all about, getting your energy and your mindset to where it needs to be.
Yeah, it absolutely sets you up for success, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there, when you look back on your journey now, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently or regret?
I think I would have.
Do you or your team want to train in a new and popular beauty treatment for as little as £99? Whether it's lashes, brows or facials, adding a new service can mean more clients and more money. With Beginner Beauty Courses UK, you can train for as little as £99, all from the comfort of your own home. Get instant access to their online accredited courses and train in treatments like lash lift and tint, classic lash extensions, beginner facials, massage, Russian lash extensions, and more. You'll get full support from your tutor, private WhatsApp chats, and lifetime access to easy to follow tutorials that you can rewatch over and over again. Click on the link in the show notes and train in a brand new in-demand beauty treatment today.
Like I said earlier, had the confidence straight away to go
to go
skincare.
for it.
But in hindsight, at the time, I'd not necessarily decided on the brands that I wanted to partner with. And I would say that has been a really big part of my journey, because once I found the brands that I wanted to work with and I knew what I could achieve with them, that's then when it changed. And partnering with, so I currently am partnered with Environ and the Advanced Nutrition Programme with the IIAA, and they have just been absolutely incredible since day one, like their level of education and support and the community, the treatments, the results is just, and the fact that they are backed by science as well. So I have such confidence in them. I think I wish I'd have found them sooner. I think I wish, I'd have made that decision sooner of like, who is it that I'm going to move this business forward with? Like, who am I going to partner with and who's going to help me do that? I think I would have definitely shaped my business more from the beginning. Like when I first started, I worked all the hours. If I needed to fit a client in, I'd stay late, I'd work weekends, I'd do things that potentially were outside of what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
But you think that's the right thing, but actually in a way it's not, because it's your business and you've created this business. And yes, whilst it's important to get the clients through the door, you're going to make a rod for your own back. And I've had to take so many steps back to be able to redesign it because of the mistakes that I made in the early days of just, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Learning to say no, think more. No, that doesn't serve me. No, I don't want to stay late. No, that's not what I want my business to look like. And trusting that that's the right decision for you, your family and your loved ones and what you're wanting to create for the future.
Yeah. They're really important lessons though as well, aren't they, to learn?
Yeah, definitely.
I think one thing that's really clear about you, Liz, is, like you said earlier on, you're all in. Mm-hmm. You're all in on your clients. You're all in on results. You're all in on the brands. Do you think that there are skin specialists out there aren't all in, and that's why they're not having this client connection, these clients coming through the door, and what can they do to become all in?
Well, I think it depends on the products that you're using and the brands that you're partnered with, because like I said, that really is just
you've got to love them.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% got to love them. But again, like, what does your life look like in the background? Like, the reason that I am so all in is because this is my life and this is what I live every single day.
And you love it.
And I love it. Absolutely love it. Like, I have that passion and that fire inside, and I know what I want to achieve. So if you don't really know whether that's 100% for you, then you're not going to have that level of energy. You're not going to have that, you're not going to have the results, because what you're putting out is not the right level of energy, not the right thing. But I think I would definitely say that the brands that you're working with, it's all about education as well. So, you might be wanting to share something, but you don't necessarily know whether it's the right thing, or if you've got that level of knowledge. You've got to invest in education. There isn't a day goes by where I don't pick up a book, look on Instagram, Google something, ring up Environ, speak to, my business development managers, speak to my fellow skincare specialists that I work, we have a community on WhatsApp that we speak with, and just delve into that level of education so that you know that your knowledge is crystal clear and that you are confident in that knowledge, because that then will just come through. Yeah. Because if you're not crystal clear in your knowledge and you've not got that level of confidence and you're a bit like, oh, well, is that the right thing for that client? Is that what I'm going to, it's all about asking for help as well. You might think, well, that's the right way to go with that client when it comes to skincare or that treatment, but it's all about asking for help and advice. I think that's one of the things when I work now, obviously, quite a lot by myself. And sometimes, yes, I do know that I've got that level of knowledge and skill, but sometimes you second guess yourself or sometimes you question yourself, which is why education and asking the advice of others to come together and help you is really, really important. Yeah. But I think education, working with the right brands, getting the right coaches, the right help is the way forward with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think people underestimate how much there is to learn, and they don't need to know everything from the get-go, because you're never going to learn everything.
Exactly. Not.
What is not acceptable is having confusion over a particular skin type and doing fuck all about finding out what to do about
it.
It's
Exactly.
I know I need to learn about acne, or I don't know if I want to do that treatment because I don't know what skin type. Go and read about it. Go and look. And it's like, I think there's a lot of lazy people out there that want big results. Yes. And it's like, if you want to get good results and you want to be serious, like I've interviewed so many successful business owners now. You all have the same things in common. You invest in education, whether that's paid or free. You put the time in, you're passionate, you care. And I just think that, if you don't really care about skin, or you don't really care about lashing, or you don't really care about massage, you're never going to be great at it, because you don't fucking care about it.
No,
like, I didn't really care about forklift trucks or cranes. I sold them, but eventually I was fucking miserable, and that's why now I'm happier, because I do what I really fucking care about.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
What are your future plans now for the business going forward? Have you got anything exciting in the pipeline?
Yeah, so I've actually just relocated my business. So we sold our house, that's still going through in the background, so I needed to find somewhere to go. So it feels a little bit like a step back in one way.
But it's a catapult.
But it's, definitely.
It's like you have to pull back before you can let it go forward.
Definitely. So I'm now moved into a new room in the last 3 weeks. So it's all very new. I'm still finding my feet with the space. But definitely now is just going to continue to niche down and look at now where I can expand my skincare knowledge, the treatments that I offer, and then definitely go back to a different type of education, because, like I said, I am invested in education and knowing everything I possibly can, but I live and breathe it. Like, I share that I eat that way. I share that that's my lifestyle. So, and I'm going to continue to, take that simple, holistic approach to skincare myself and continue to learn that in the background so that I can share more. And the idea in the end will be to, just like I said, continue with the different level of skincare treatments that I can offer, continue to build the community that I have on social media in person, but also look to going back into education, whether that's skincare courses.
I think you've got to help people in the industry. I think you know so much, and you're so passionate that you being able to help the skin practitioners out there that are currently going, I'm not that confident, I don't know what to do, and I've got this and that, like you creating some sort of hub or membership or something to help them would just be such a service of other people.
Yeah, definitely.
And amazing for you, because you're passionate about teaching. I can tell it a mile off.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that, I'm making your goals for you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's fine. But I think that's the thing. Now I've found my feet in the new room, give myself a couple of months to get, built up there and then sit down. I have to have a goal. I've always had to have goals. Short-term goals, long-term goals, the vision board, it all comes back to that, because that's the reason that gets you up out of bed every single morning and keeps you going, doing what you're doing. And that's, without goals, there's no drive, there's no reason to be doing it.
I love it. For those who are listening to this that want to follow you on social media and see what you're up to, how will they find you?
So I'm on Instagram at That Healthy Skin Girl. And Instagram really is my main platform at the moment. Yes, I'm on Facebook. I've dabbled with TikTok, but Instagram really is where I focus now. I have actually got a podcast myself, which I haven't recorded anything on there for the last probably 9 months now.
But you might
again,
well get back into it.
That is something that I'm going to visit. So you can
good.
find that again through That Healthy Skin Girl on all streaming platforms as well. So that's
amazing.
something that I think will be something I go
ready
back
to pick it up.
Yeah,
I like the
definitely.
idea of that. What we'll do is we'll tag everything in the show notes below. So
Yes.
for the listeners and the watchers, if you go into the show notes, we'll tag Liz, there's Healthy Skin Girl Instagram and the link for the podcast as well.
Yes,
So they
okay.
go see if something's been uploaded.
Yeah.
Thank you for being an incredible guest.
Thank you very
You've
much for
given
inviting me.
lots of that, and we both talk at speed too. Yeah. So they've had like 2 hours worth of podcast in 1 hour. So everyone who ever started the podcast on speed 1.2 have definitely rewound that down. But
Okay,
Thank you
yes.
for being an incredible guest, Liz.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been brilliant.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.